Throw your sister off the ferry and hide in the washroom while your husband holds your co-workers hostage, because we have another episode of The Changeling where everything is going off the rails.
Forgot about that one.
In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into episode 6 and answering all the episode's important questions. Keep in mind, I have not read the book, so any theories here are based solely off what we've seen so far. I've left timestamps below so you can see the topics we'll be covering. Now let's get into it. Up until this point, most of The Changeling has focused on Apollo Kagwa and the search for his murderous wife, Emma. Episode 6 gives us a glimpse at what exactly Emma was up to after she killed her quote-unquote baby. Remember that the events of this episode take place roughly 3 months prior to Apollo making his way to the island in episode 4. That's because he spent 3 months in jail for holding up Emma's library, an event Emma actually witnessed herself when she was hiding in the washroom. The first shot of the episode is Emma holding a tea kettle. We saw her heating this up in episode 3 and picking it off the stove, feeling no pain. Her seemingly superhero-like powers aside, what purpose did this kettle serve? Was it to burn Brian? We actually don't know how Brian died. The only person to see Brian's dead body was the building superintendent who, in episode 3, tells Apollo he never saw anything like it. But the news report this episode states that Brian's body was found, quote, unresponsive. Could the kettle be part of some sort of ritual? Remember that Cal asks Emma, what did you see after you did what we asked of you? Almost as if there was a particular way Emma had to go about killing her child. Emma's escape wouldn't be possible without the help of her sister, Kim. In episode 2, she follows her sister as she acquires the chains that will tie up Apollo, provided to her by one of Cal's followers. She has no knowledge about what her sister is about to do, but now it seems like she knows a whole lot more. She helps her sister escape, says she has to do this alone, and pushes her in the water. There's no way any rational person would aid their mentally unstable sister in committing the murders of their son and husband, unless Kim knows something we don't. She seems to be working with Cal, reminding Emma what Cal said, that this has to be done alone, and alerts the rowboat that she's on her way. It seems like a big question for both Emma and Kim is if Emma's really mentally ill like her mother, or under some sort of spell, and hopefully she will find some answers on this island. Emma looks as though she's in some sort of trance when we see her at the beginning of the episode. Perhaps she's seeing something. Remember that Cal asks her as soon as she gets on the island what she saw after she did what she asked of her. Left in the crib is a tree branch, and she has no idea how it got there. Part of Emma's journey this episode is understanding the significance of this branch. She asks another mother if there was anything left behind when she killed her child. This woman says a leaf. This leaf belongs to a Norwegian maple, a particularly invasive species whose aggressive roots, the narrator says, girdle even the parent tree, choking itself to death. It seems the Norwegian maple is a metaphor for William the Norwegian, who is metaphorically choking Apollo and Emma by taking hold of their child. So Emma embarks on a journey to investigate every Norwegian maple in New York, but it's Wheels who suggests she starts in Little Norway. Immigrants there first arrived in 1825, which is the same year the persecuted Norwegians from episode 1 left their homeland. With all this emphasis on forests, like those mentioned in Apollo's book To the Waters and the Wild, it makes sense to start there because there's an actual forest there. But many questions still remain. Why would the people who took baby Brian leave behind such a clue? Is there any significance to this branch beyond it being a clue to lead her to Little Norway? Much remains to be seen. After escaping her apartment, Emma receives a text message from an unknown number. Remember, she had been receiving dozens of these messages in the months leading up to Brian's death. This time, however, the text message is read with William's voice that we heard him use at the end of episode 5. He says, "They told you to ditch the phone, but can you really quit me? The only one who knows what really happened." This is pretty cryptic. They told you to ditch the phone likely refers to Cal and the women, but why would he say he's the only one who knows what really happened? Likely because William is the only one who knows where Brian is. William has this almost supernatural-like quality to him. He got nearly beaten to death a few episodes ago and now seems totally fine. So when I think of a Norwegian creature that is connected to the supernatural, I obviously think of a troll. As I was researching, I came across this article which states, in folktales, trolls would come out of the primordial forests and steal away Christian children, replacing them with their changeling troll babies. This sounds a lot like what's going on. Let's be real, Emma's been able to do some pretty superhuman stuff, from holding the burning kettle to descending the fire escape like she's some parkour expert. I can't help but think something inside her is giving her this power, and perhaps this has something to do with the South American witch. But with those powers also come some weaknesses. If Emma is indeed some sort of witch, then according to mythology, witches can't swim, and this seems to be the case for Emma this episode. When she's flung off the ferry, she almost drowns until she's rescued, and later on we'll see her chase after the rowboat and drown again, only saving herself by grabbing onto a nearby rope. I also found this very odd detail, which is only really noticeable with the closed captioning on. After she survives drowning, she mouths the words, "First comes love," the beginning line of a nursery rhyme. Witches were commonly burned at the stake, and one of the last lines Kim says to Emma before throwing her off the boat is, "I can't let you burn for this." Her mother was also burned to death. Back to swimming, in episode 4, Apollo tells us that he can't swim. If he happens to be the son of a witch, it's possible that passed down to him as well. It would also explain how he's able to get to this island. He is part witch. One of the lines from To the Waters and the Wild that we've seen over and over again is the one Emma carves into her jail cell. They bathe at dusk, they hide it with guile, at home in the forest, forever lost in the wild. This is the passage Apollo will find months later. My first guess is that this refers to a changeling, something that is hidden with guile to make it look like something else. It could also refer to a child, for the trolls and fairies would need to hide the child they swapped in order to keep them in their quote-unquote forest. As Emma leaves the island telling Cal that she'll never see her again, she begins to glow blue. To me, this is a manifestation of her witch power. Her final line is, "Mama's coming for you." She is determined, powerful, and this lines up with Emma's friend's depiction of her in that Norwegian photo as being a sorceress. And it's not uncommon for witches to glow or emit light in folklore, so this is currently my best guess. I found it very interesting that even though none of the women know where their children are, none of them seem hell-bent on finding them like Emma is. I think Cal describes them as being tired. It's like they've all given up rather than banding together to solve this mystery. Cal reads a passage from Alice in Wonderland that's all about Alice changing. There are also several quotes we've seen throughout the series found in the underground, like, "When you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer," which was found in the subway in episode 1 after baby Brian's birth. That's it for this episode. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.